real entrepreneurs are people who can create something from their imagination. That's a real entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is not somebody who follows the footsteps of somebody else and does the same thing and copies everything. That's not an entrepreneur. That's just someone who's copying someone else's footsteps. I did well. I left school. I've got no qualifications. It's okay for them to say it when you're sitting with £50 million in the bank. Every single person is completely different.
Money isn't necessarily the route to happiness, but it's what money buys, and that's time to spend with loved ones, family, children. That's really what it's about.
Yes. Have you really ever, serious question, have you ever come across a poor person who says money doesn't matter?
Very valid.
How many rich people have you come across that say money doesn't matter? Because it's easier to say money doesn't matter when you have it. Life is all about money.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So before we begin today's podcast, I'd like to say a big thank you to Casita Properties for sponsoring today's episode. And they are the UK leading property company when it comes to off-market discrete buy-to-let sales. All the links will be in the description below. I have the pleasure of welcoming Steve Hamilton. Thanks so much for joining me today, mate.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure to have you on. So let's kick it off with, we're going to cover off a little bit of property, but also I want to tap into more of the entrepreneur mindset, how you got to where you are and what you're doing. And, you know, it's an exciting journey, watching from afar of what you're doing. So let's start with who you are and what you do.
Okay. So I am a property developer first. That's first and foremost, because that's where all of our income comes from. And been doing it for about 8 years. Been on social media for just over a year. So there's a massive misinterpretation that we have grown this big in 1 year. It's been 8 years. And came on social media. Obviously, it's opened a lot of doors. And I also have something called Team 11, which is a network of individuals in the property world who I've brought together. We started that a year ago as well. We've got over 500 members now. And that is growing at a rate that is crazy. It's outrageous. So yeah, that's the two things. Property developer first and a networker second.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's funny you touch on the work that's gone in behind 8 years, but people will look at your socials where most people make a quick judgment and they think, you know, what's he doing? How long has he been on socials for? But if you've done that in a year, I mean, that's incredible growth.
Yeah.
And I know how hard it is in terms of building a network, especially an online community.
Yeah.
If it's rapidly growing like that, that's a testimonial to what you're doing, because it's hard, isn't it, to run that online community? It's hard.
Yeah. I think what it is, it's because when people meet me, they realize there's no bullshit and it's very straightforward and it's black and white. There's no gray areas. There's no corners cut. If you're doing something wrong, I will pull you up and tell you immediately. Some people react to it in a good way. Some people react to it in a bad way, but it shows the realness. And that's why we have grown, I think, to the level we have. With no marketing. It's literally been all organic. We are looking at doing some kind of marketing in the future, but we've got to make sure that all the procedures are in place to be able to cope with the growth.
Yeah.
So it's still a learning curve as well after all these years.
So where did this journey start though? What, you know, taking it back, why property development? Why entrepreneurship? Why not the normal go to uni, get an education and work 9 to 5?
I left school when I was 15. It just wasn't for me, but I was intelligent. I knew my basics, and everyone throws this word entrepreneur around. You know, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know I wanted to do what I'm doing. It literally, I followed a path that led me to this, if that makes sense. And I get asked all the time, property entrepreneur, that's what you are because you do so much stuff. Entrepreneurs, I think, the real entrepreneurs are people who can create something from their imagination. That's a real entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is not somebody who follows the footsteps of somebody else and does the same thing and copies everything. That's not an entrepreneur. That's just someone who's copying someone else's footsteps. An entrepreneur is somebody who can have an idea in the brain, this is in my opinion, and literally bring it to life.
Yeah.
So like I said, I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It just happened.
I totally agree. It's creativity, turning it into an income, fending for yourself. And obviously we just had this conversation off camera, is that, you know, you can I don't think there's anything wrong. I think there is a difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I think taking an idea, turning it into something that is physical, something that generates an income, or, you know, something that you can say, right, this is now a thing. I've created it. But there is that take of, well, if something's successful, Steve's doing it really well, why don't we just sort of copy what Steve's doing?
Yeah.
Like we were talking, there's not anything necessarily wrong in that, because it's a compliment to you, but it's putting your own spin on it, isn't it?
Yep. That's the key.
And just being honest about it.
Yeah, that's the key. I think copying, everybody has a path that they want to follow because they've seen it already produce an income or produce wealth. And there's nothing wrong with going down the same path. But like you said, if you can put your own spin on it and don't copy everything completely, then yeah, I understand that. But that there is a difference between entrepreneurship and a business owner, completely. Yeah. If I want to create a clothing brand and I literally go onto Gymshark's website and I copy every single thing they've done, I use all the influence they've used and everything like that, you're a business owner. Yeah. You're not an entrepreneur. Yeah. You're somebody who's copying. So that's a good analogy, what you just said, the difference between the two. And
when it comes to formal education versus self-education, like Jim Rohn said, you know, what was it? Formal education will earn you a living, self-education will, you know, earn you a fortune. What's your views on that? You know, because I've recently done a video that went pretty big, and there is a real divide. Like I wouldn't say it's a 50-50 divide, but there is a massive divide, a disagreement in terms of, well, no, you must go to uni, you must go to college, because how on earth are you going to know what you want to do? You need a trade. What's your views on that? You know,
I have big opinions on this because I see a lot of super successful people that I know a lot of young people follow, who always put Instagram and posts and Twitter posts out saying, I did well, I left school, I've got no qualifications. It's okay for them to say it when you're sitting with £50 million in the bank. Every single person is completely different. I'm a big believer in that you must finish your education because it gives you the basic skills. And then not everybody knows the path like me. I didn't know my path, but until you're finding your path, you still need to be taught. So when I hear these, no names, but when I hear these big people on social media saying, don't worry about education, it kind of annoys me because I genuinely believe that you need it and you should finish it unless you're going into the family business and, you know, it's going to happen no matter what. It's generational wealth. Yeah. But I'm a big believer in going to school and finishing your education. The university level, I think that's a bridge that you cross once you've done your A levels and, you know, your college and stuff like that. So what would your take be on university? Because obviously they take some lengthy years off of you. Yeah. If you're going to be a doctor and you know in your mind, or you're going to be a lawyer or something like that, then obviously you need it. There's nothing you can do about it. But that's for people who have made their mind up on what they want to be. If you're just going to university because you're still unsure, could be a very, very long waste of time. And that's when you do need to sit down at that stage and assess where you're going. That's what I believe. Well, a lot of people off the back of that, when we've had this in the comments recently and stuff like that, is a lot of people saying, oh, well, it's not all about the money. And I think there's this interpretation of when you start a business or you go on to pursue entrepreneurship and you build things and, you know, you want a certain lifestyle. That's what it's portrayed as. For you personally, when, you know, people say, oh, it's not about the money, I just want to be happy. Personally, I think that we're holding on to a bit of an old school mentality of that money isn't necessarily the route to happiness, but it's what money buys, and that's time to spend with loved ones, family, children. That's really what it's about. Yeah. So have you really ever, serious question, have you ever come across a poor person who says money doesn't matter? Very valid. How many rich people have you come across that say money doesn't matter? Because it's easy to say money doesn't matter when you have it. Life is all about money. Everything we do, you're sitting in the studio doing a podcast with me today. If you didn't have the money, could you afford to do this? Exactly. Could you be able to drive or catch a train here today? Money is up there. It's as important as breathing. Yeah. Because you can't do anything without money. Again, the narrative on this, money doesn't make you happy, comes from rich people. Doesn't come from poor people. Because where I'm from, which was, you know, a very, very poor area and a poor upbringing, money was everything. Yeah. Because I saw my mum without any money. So no, I don't like that. I don't like that. I think anybody who says, I'm not in this business to make money, well, give it away then. Let's see what you do then. You won't find that happening. Yeah, I don't
that
agree
one
with it.
down.
I don't agree with it whatsoever.
Yeah,
I think
I don't agree with it
I think it's a
either.
load of nonsense.
I do think I think it's an old school wording, and something else that came up was someone quoted this in one of the comments on a TikTok video, was that all the best things in life are free. And my take on this is, you can meet your partner for free, you can create a child for free. There's going to be a point you need to put your hand in your pocket to enjoy that partner. Soon that partner's going to want to go out.
It's an objective that what you've just said. There's different points of views on it. Like you said, the best things in life are free, and you'll get the people who will say walking in the park, walking on a summer's evening, walking down in the rain and stuff like that. The best things in life definitely aren't free because, like you said, there will be a cost at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do you want to walk in the park again? No.
it's one of those things.
I want to go to the Ivy.
It'd be nice to change the narrative and people actually start talking about how money. The Americans, if you go to America and you drive down the street, it's the same thing we hear all the time. You've got a Ferrari and you drive down the street in a Ferrari. They're literally clapping you, running down the street, taking pictures, asking you how you got it.
Yeah.
You drive down the street outside here, someone's going to try and rob you, or someone's going to try and, there's a comment, oh, what a twat he is or she is. So I think this country definitely needs to start applauding people who are successful.
Yeah.
And showing the younger generation that this is what you can do, whether you go into business yourself or you work for a company and achieve the same kind of things. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people's mindsets in the UK. We
are so behind. I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because that's a good talking topic. Is in America, they'll salute you. They are all for making money. And if you've done well in business, they're happy to talk about it. They're happy to sit around in a room and discuss it and asking questions. That is something in the UK, it seems taboo and almost frowned upon. If you've done really well, that I should sort of be a little bit jealous and bitter. And instead of asking you, where you'd probably really respond to me because you'd see a little bit of likability or that's what I was like, and perhaps even take me under your wing, it's like, oh, he's done well. I don't really want to talk about it. Whereas if I was to ask you the question, I'd be like, Steve, how'd you do it? You'd be like, well, why do you want to know? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to copy you. Yeah. But
it is. But it is needed.
Questions.
It's massively needed. And like I said, it needs to be taught in the younger generation that it is okay to go up to somebody who's successful and ask them, how did you do it?
Yeah.
Can you show me? Can we have a conversation? Can I have 5 minutes of your time? Not everybody's going to give you the time of day because there are some idiots out there.
Yeah.
But I think if you've come from, an upbringing that's not great, you will be more inclined to speak to people.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you've got a bit more that humble element of you.
Yeah.
Also, there's this misconception that rich people are arseholes. A lot of them aren't. I think it comes down to, if you're an arsehole and you get given money, you become a bigger arsehole. But if you're a nice person and you've got money, you probably, you can help people, you can give things away, you can sort of guide people. And that's what I've found is some of the people that have done very well financially that I know, honestly, they would give you their last sandwich. Like, they would really help you out if you ask the questions. If you don't ask the questions, how are they ever going to know that you want help? So that's something I really want people to take that away, is ask questions and actually, like you say, be proud. If you've been successful and you come from the background that you have, be proud of it. Like, if you've achieved everything you have, why not?
Yeah.
Why not talk about it?
Yeah, I think that's important. Ask questions. Be around people that you are inspired by, or you look up to, or you want to go down their path.
Yeah.
So make sure you surround yourself with them if you can. How
do people weed out who's real, who's not? We were talking about it, weren't we? Someone does one deal, or they go on a training course and then they'll apply what they've learned there, and then they'll start something of their own. How does someone look from afar and think, right, I'm brand new to this game, in business, in property, whatever it is, this person's really big on social media, they're saying what I want to hear, and I'm thinking I'm going to go with them, but you just don't know. So what kind of basic things would you do? Truthfully,
there's nothing you can do in today's society because social media has just ruined everything. So social media is highlights. It's a highlight reel. It's the nice things that nobody wants to show you the badness.
Yeah.
And this country and any country in the world, actually, you have people who have common sense and you have people who don't have common sense. Obviously, the amount of people with common sense is like 1%.
It's rare sense.
Yeah, rare. That's a good one, that is. I've not heard that one before. I like that. You can't, because human nature, if I come in here today to you and say, Aaron, put £50,000 into this deal and in the next 4 or 5 years, you'll start seeing a return on it, 6 to 10%. And then obviously it will lead on to other things. You will be like, okay, let's have a look at it. If I said it to 6 of these people in the room, but no, I'm not waiting 4 years, it's too long. If I came into the room and said, right, here's a scratch card, it's £100, there's a chance you can win $1 million in the next 10 seconds, every single person in this room will give me £100.
Yeah.
And that's how the people on social media come across that it's financial freedom within 7 days. It's financial freedom within 28 days. There's never a financial freedom point in people's lives, because when you earn a certain amount of money, you live to that amount of money. So if you want better, you have to then go up the next level.
Yeah.
So financial freedom doesn't come. Financial freedom buys time, where if you hit a certain amount of money that covers all your expenses, say £10,000 a month, you can then step back. You know, you got your income of £10,000, whether you have to work for it or it's passive. Then as soon as you've had that for a few months, you're going to be like, okay, I want a bigger house. I want to buy my mum a house. I want to buy a new car. And everything starts to go up and up and up. So realistically, there's never an end. And this is what these guys on social media can convince you, that you can have this.
Yeah.
And if it was that easy, wouldn't the whole country just be wealthy?
Yeah.
It doesn't work, and you can't stop it. It's something you'll never stop, and there is no way of fighting it. You just have to. For every idiot born, a con man will have a customer, and there's nothing you can do.
It's very true. That's a very true saying. You've got to listen to that one back. I like that one. Well, I don't think there is a way of fighting it. I think you are right in terms of, I think you put it nicely, everything's a highlight. And that's the dangerous part of social media, is a highlight. But there are a lot of people that do take information and they go and apply it. And I think for anyone watching is just that you have to really trust your gut instinct. But then it comes back to common sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You like someone drops you a message saying about Forex or crypto. It's like, there are people that are going to sign up to it because it's mentioned that short-term win. Everything's so quick and instant in today's society.
People don't rely on the gut. That's a big thing. So when you're happy, you get butterflies.
Yeah.
When you get really bad news, your stomach turns. That's not magic. That's an actual instinct inside your body. So when you meet people, your gut instincts, how you feel about them within the first 20 minutes, hour, you should always remember that when you walk away. If something didn't seem right, there's a reason it didn't seem right. Or if you genuinely feel a great energy and a great vibe, then that's your instinct telling you they're good people. But people don't rely on that. People don't use that. They just, again, they hear, give me £1,000 and you can make £3,000 in a month.
Yeah.
They'll pay for it. Give me 10 grand for a course or 12 grand and you'll be financially free in 28 days.
Yeah.
And it's just instant. They're just in. They're already warped.
Quick win, no hard work.
Yeah. Doesn't exist.
No. Everyone wants the money overnight. And I think when you look at most successful people financially, look how many years it took them to do it, like really successfully. Financial freedom, is it really a thing? But the ones who have got the 20, 30, 40, 50 million in the bank, it's taken them 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and that number of 10 plus years, that's not good enough for obviously the day and age that we live in, because everything is so quick, downloading Trading 212, investing into EasyJet, all these stocks, everything you can buy, it's so superficial and it's very misleading. Onto sort of a debate that comes up. I'm very interested to get your take on this. Property versus business. So property market at the moment is moving very quick. It's changing very quick. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in the economy. For someone who might be interested in property, but also that element of business, thinking, okay, I could start online, minimal overheads, but I like the idea of property. What's your honest opinion right now in terms of the two? If someone had a pot of cash, do they lean towards the property? Is it too much of a slow burner, or do they get into the business? Or what's your thoughts?
It's down to the individual and what your goals are and what you're trying to reach. Property is a very, very long-term strategy, and it can create generational wealth depending on who you are and what abilities you have to keep going up and up and up. But if you look at most of the richest people in the world, what do they all have in common? They all own property.
Yeah.
They all have main businesses, but then they all use the businesses to fund their portfolios. And I'm a big believer in that you can't predict the future. If everyone could predict the future again, we'd all be millionaires, and we're not. Property is something that if you've got a passion for it, just do it. There's no right or wrong time. And house prices don't drop 50%. Commercial buildings don't drop 50%. They go, 2 to 8% up and down. So if you're in it for the long term, it doesn't really affect you. So if your strategy in the property world is to build a portfolio, you can start today. If your strategy is deal sourcing, you can do that anytime and you can start that today. If your strategy is flipping, well, then you have to sit back and make sure the numbers work, because if your profit in a property from flipping is, say, £10,000 and the market starts to fluctuate and you have all your admin costs as well, like your sales costs, your legal expenses, then you've got to really understand how the market works. So again, depending on your strategy, that's how you know your entry point. If you're going to start a business, like an online business, well, you're in something called the red ocean, aren't you? Because you're competing against every single person in the world, because everybody wants to do an online business. What's the first thing that most people do when they say, I want to create an online business? Clothing brand. How many clothing brands are there in the UK that we've not even heard of? Yeah. So you're in a red ocean with sharks and you're fighting. You want to find something that you can concentrate on, where it's you that makes, the future. Whereas if you do a clothing brand or an online business, it depends on sales. Yes, you have to sell a house once you've flipped it. Chances of selling a house are like 99.9%. Everybody needs to buy a house. Everybody invests. Clothing brands and online businesses, it's all down to sales. It's not the same.
And it's marketing as well, isn't it?
Huge.
Who's got the biggest marketing budget? I think depending on what sector you go into, I think obviously determines the marketing, but this is something I want to touch on. How important has it been? I know you've done it very quickly, but your social media presence, how has that played a part of, one, sort of building on your network, but two, bringing on board new clients, new investors? Because obviously, again, it's your portfolio, isn't it? Saying, look, this is who I am. I'm Steve. This is what I do. How important is it for people to really take note? And, not a lot of people want to get on video, but that's where it's going, isn't it?
It's the number one thing that you need in today's day and age, social media. It's key. And there's a fine line, a very fine line. So when I came onto social media, I was comfortable. My life was comfortable. I had nice cars, nice houses, income, everything was nice. And I made a decision with my Isabella, who's my fiance and partner in everything we do. Do we want to be comfortable and grow at the rate we're growing? Or do we want to be the best? Like, number one, the best developer in the UK, and then hopefully take it wider. Do we want to create the biggest network in the whole of the UK? Well, if so, we have to put our faces out there and we have to start to market. Huge decision. Never had social media. Didn't even like my photograph being taken. I was awful. And when we made the decision that day, we hired a full-time videographer that first day, who's still with us now, Duna. He's absolutely unbelievable. He's a wizard. And we outlaid a huge salary. And everyone was like, you do know you're not going to get any return from anything on social media for like 4 or 5 years. And my mentality always is, well, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability and put the best content out. So we did it from day one, literally immediately. And it's opened doors that would never, ever, ever have opened. There's people messaging me, it's even little things like when you walk down the street, people come over and say, oh, I watched your video. I saw the Instagram. I saw your post. Congratulations on your fiance being pregnant. Congratulations on new cars, or that development you're doing looks amazing. Well, it reaches so wide and it grows your brand so quickly. But when I said there's a fine line between coming on social media and being a cocky bastard and coming on social media and people going, I like that person. Yeah. He's relatable or desirable. So it can be a really, really mixed bag, because it can be misinterpreted very quick. Yeah. So you got to figure it out.
Yeah, it does open up so many doors. And not only that, moving on to video, one of the biggest changes for me, I know, Paul, you felt this as well, is moving from typical photos or write-ups on LinkedIn to moving on to LinkedIn over, I'd say we've probably been hitting it heavy the last couple of months. But already had a great network anyway, but some of the connections now that have poked their head out just from changing that video on a platform like LinkedIn, where predominantly, if we go back 10 years ago, it was, it's got to be a political post. It's, you've got to include news links and stuff. Whereas now putting out video and being more yourself and open and transparent about what you're doing and who you are, doors open left, right and center. And I think from hiring a videographer from day one, I think had I been in that situation, I would have done it as well, because you're starting as you mean to go on, and I'm a big believer in that. And it's obviously massively paid because of the brand that's been built. So, which is tied quite nicely into your event. How have you, obviously we run our event as well, but it has massive benefits. How have you found sort of putting on an event and being that host and allowing people to get to know you that little bit more?
Yeah, that was key, our networking events, because we'd done our first ever event a year ago and we had 30 people. It was in a really high-end restaurant in Sutton Coldfield called Panache, they're friends of ours. And we had like a little section of the restaurant on a Saturday night, and we sold 30 tickets. We only put 30 tickets out. We sold 30 tickets, and me and Isabella sat back and was like, wow, this is amazing. And then 2 months later, we did our next one in Panache, 80 tickets. Then we went and did a black tie event at the Park Regis in Birmingham, and it was 250 tickets. And I remember when we put it out there, we had lots of speakers, and the event cost us £27,000. We won't take sponsors, so we pay for it all ourselves.
We have to.
Yeah, we don't. Well, we didn't, because what it was with us, I didn't know who I want to align my brand with just yet.
Yeah.
So the first event, me and Isabella sat back and was like, right, £27,000. We sold the tickets, and the ticket sales was only 5,000 because we wanted people to be able to come. So it cost us 22,000 of our own money, and the ticket sold out in about 13 minutes. So we was like, okay, so we really have something here. This is amazing. Then we went to the Grand Hotel, which is the best hotel in the whole of Birmingham. Black tie, again, £35,000. And we done 250 tickets, again, sold it out like within an hour, I think it was. And that one was spectacular. And then we bought it back last month, and we went back to Panache, the restaurant where it started, and we ended up hiring the whole of the restaurant out. So they shut it on a Saturday for us, and we had 100 people. Again, tickets sold out like within a day. And when we sit back and we look at it, it was like, wow, this is incredible with the networking. But what I did was, before we went to networking, well, me and Isabella, we went round to 4 or 5 or 6 different networking events. And we basically took from each event what was great, and we took what was shit, and we thought, right, that's not what we're going to implement, and this is what we're going to implement. And from all the networks we went to, we found that the only thing that we could take that was any good was when you just left people in a room to speak.
Yeah.
And when you had somebody who stood there that people were absorbed by, who wanted to listen to that person speak.
Yeah.
So that's how we came up with our events. There's no sales, because we don't sell anything apart from a membership to a network.
Yeah.
Which you get from it what you put in.
Yeah.
And we do like a weekly Zoom thing with everybody. If you want to join, you join. You don't. There's no charge for that if you want to come on. So our networking events, we found that if you just let people do what they want to do, and you get people down who people want to listen to, they're absolutely amazing. And yesterday, was it yesterday, guys? Yesterday, we decided to hire Millennium Point in Birmingham, and we're doing a seminar, 350 people.
Wow.
And we've already sold 280 tickets, and we've not even announced it.
That's insane.
So, and the seminar's amazing.
But that shows credibility. Like that speaks a lot for you. So that's insane. I mean, to self-fund it as well, like that. I mean, the buzz that we've got from it is the opportunities, like we've found already that we're now having certain meetings, and that's come from being sort of in that room and putting good people in a room. And it just opens up your mind to the possibility of, if we can get more people in a room like this, more doors are open, which kind of just opens your eyes to the fact that it's always about changing your circle. It's always about being around positive people. And that's kind of where I always confirm the fact that this is why I can't have time for people that aren't supportive, aren't positive, that don't want to do well, just wanting to move forward. However that looks like in their life, is just that being positive about whatever you do and putting them all in a room, the opportunities that come off of it. I don't know if you found that as well.
It's huge. And it goes back to what you said about changing the narrative, the way people think about things that were said in the past. You hear the saying, day ones, the people who were with me from the beginning. Well, if you've got 10 friends from 14 years old and you all grow up and you become the successful one that buys the Ferrari and the Lamborghini, your 9 friends ain't supporting you.
Yeah.
There is no way on God's green earth they're going to be like, yeah. Unless you're buying them a Ferrari and you're putting them in a house, there's going to be jealousy, there's going to be envy, there's going to be hate. Changing your circle, there is nothing wrong with changing your circle.
Yeah.
As long as in the business that you are in, you have a core team who are all on the same page, everybody else that comes and goes are just an acquaintance to you doing whatever you're doing. Because people, I get it all the time. Steve, you've changed. You don't come back to where you're from. You have no time for us. No, I haven't changed. I'm exactly the same person who just has bigger goals and ambitions.
Yeah.
And my goals and ambitions don't let me come back to where I'm from and sit in the pub on a Thursday afternoon when I'm trying to work. So I haven't changed. You've changed your attitude towards me, because if you had anything about you, you would be with me trying to, how do I do what you're doing?
Yeah.
So, there's your circle will change forever and a day.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
And anybody that tells me, nope, I'm with the same people that I was with from day one, well, 99.9% of them are doing the same thing that you was doing from day one.
Yeah.
It does hinder your growth massively.
It does. That's what Simon Leslie said, didn't he? He said the people that were with me at the beginning, they're not the people they are now.
No.
That I have different people. Everyone's played a different role. I'm going to throw a bit of a spin on it, sort of as we come to a close. If you had £50,000 right now, where would your money be going? How would you utilise £50,000 in the day and age that we're in?
2 things. If I had a business and my business was up and running and it, whether it's successful, it wasn't successful, 50,000 will go into marketing. If I didn't have a business and I wanted to get into something, well, if it was property, because that's obviously my field, the £50,000 in today's market, huge amount of money. If you've got £50,000 in the bank, you've done extremely well. To have it as a, an extra money, that's amazing. So hats off to you if you've got £50,000 in the bank. You can't really do much in property at the minute, today's market with 50,000. So the only way forward with something like that would be to joint venture with somebody who has knowledge and experience, who you can gain from, or do something called assisted sale where you put your money in and you get a return on it. Because £50,000, like I said, huge amount of money, but in the property world, it's not a lot of money.
Yeah, but marketing, it would go a long way.
If you've got a business, I would put all of that money into every penny into marketing. But that's when you have to find a good marketing agency.
Yeah,
because there's so many con artists out there and scammers.
There's a lot of them about.
Yeah, who realistically will just take your social media posts and just go online and just do what you can do.
Yeah,
there's no strategy, there's no targeted, there's none of that. So you have to, again, common sense has to come into play, and you have to find out the ones that are actually doing what they're doing.
Do you know, it's funny you say that. Just to finish up, I've had a lot of people reach out to me in the past and say, do you want us to have a look at your marketing, have a look at your strategy and what you're doing? And when I've given them the 5-10 minutes and they've gone through it, I've got to the end of it and I thought, that's exactly what I do. Mm-hmm. You literally do nothing different. I do that. Yeah. The only bonus is you doing it for me gives me my time back. So I do believe, like you said, you really have to proof of concept, case studies. Where are they? Who have you taken from here to there? As we finish, what would be a top tip for anyone looking to take on the rest of 2022? I'm not even going to say in business or entrepreneurship, but just make strides forward. Want a better life for themselves. What would you say has been, what have you taken away? What lessons have you learned?
Get rid of anybody around you who doubt you. Don't have them anywhere near you. Even 1% doubt, don't have them anywhere near you. Don't listen to somebody who's never done what you're trying to do. Don't take advice from someone who's never done what you're trying to do. So many people out there tell you not to do something when they've never done it. And you literally have to do it now. Don't wait. The diet thing, when people say I'm going on a diet, I'm starting Monday morning, 9:00, and it's Friday afternoon. So this Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to eat what I want. I'm going to start. You're never going to start.
Yeah.
If you're going to start, you start right now, from this second. As you're watching this, if you're watching this and you listen to me and you go, I want to change my life, you do it now. Yeah, right now, you get off that sofa or whatever you're doing, you get up and you write it down, Because unless you write down your goals and your plans, you'll just float around. You'll never be able to do anything. So make that plan, make that goal, and dream big, but be realistic. Have a massive dream that you've got in the back of your mind, but set steps and targets that are achievable. Because if you sit here now with no money and your dream is to buy Manchester United, you're never going to get there because you're not explaining your process to get there. So you have to have goals and you have to write them down and you have to follow them. Literally, do not try and do something else until you've ticked that one off.
Yeah.
And as soon as you've done it, watch how you feel. You'll feel empowered. You'll be like, oh my God, I achieved it. So the next one's like, you get there even quicker. So yeah, you got to do it. You have to take action.
Yeah. And celebrate the small wins as well
100%.
along the way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Steve, where can people go to connect with you, mate?
You can just put the stuff in below of your description. It's just one website and what we do is on there.
Awesome. Well, everyone who's watched, thanks so much. And Steve, again, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Problem.
Appreciate it. And we'll see you all very soon.